the pure essence of that, the pure insanity of how crazy the gap is being created, not between Spain and Italy, but between Spain and the Premier League, is the transfer of a guy like Ansu Fati going over to Brighton. Yeah. This in of itself is one that absolutely shocked the world. Could be considered one of the craziest transfers in terms of name value that we've seen in football, because to see a team like Brighton, which at the end of the day is a small club, when you look at it in the grand scheme of their position in English football, they're achieving amazing things, but they're a small club luring in a massive, massive talent, a kid that was destined to be the next great for Barcelona, that just to have that name attached to his name. Ansu Fati, Barcelona was 1-1. He's now going over to Brighton on a loan deal, but it's ridiculous to see just the magnitude of the effect that the Premier League has had in terms of the overall impact they've had on the transfer window, and how other players themselves, such as Ansu Fati, want to go play in that league, because at the end of the day, it is the most elite league in the world. And if you want to continue to develop your skills and grow your talents, it's obvious. You got to go to England, man.
Dang, you're right. This transfer is double-edged, because one side of this is Barcelona don't have the money to pay everybody that they have. So they're looking for any outs, essentially, right? If they can find a suitor who's willing to pay a player's wages, they're probably going to take the deal. And that's the economic downturn that's happening right now in Spain, bro. It's not good. And like you said, I don't know what the pitfalls are, why there's like walls that these clubs just can't get past on, why they're not successful financially or economically. I don't understand. And, maybe people that do know the nuances, I would love to, be educated on that. But the other edge of this is that, yes, Barcelona don't have the money anymore, but now Brighton get a player who has that Barcelona name attached to him. So not only are they going to get a very talented player in Ansu Fati, but dude, I guarantee you, Barcelona fans who really liked Ansu Fati, they're watching Brighton games now because they want to see how he does. And not only that, they're going to be entertained by the football that Brighton plays and just the overall level that the Premier League has on display.
Yeah, I think this Ansu Fati case is really interesting, because it makes me wonder something, bro. And I'm going to propose this to you because I'm curious to know if what I'm about to present to you had any role in Ansu Fati going to Brighton now and in a way having to take some time out from Barcelona. Ansu Fati came onto the scene when he was like 16 years old, bro. Yeah. I remember when he first got on the score sheet for Barcelona, I was thinking to myself, like, my God, this has to be one of the youngest goal scorers I've ever seen just on a score sheet, man. I remember seeing the name Ansu Fati, a name I'd never seen before, clicking on the profile and seeing that he might have even been 15, bro. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a kid scoring a goal in La Liga for a club as big as Barcelona. And I was curious to see if he could continue that momentum and continue building his brand, growing his game to live up to that potential that Barcelona tags their young players with. And it's been a really interesting ride since, man. One riddled with injuries, with inconsistencies, with him maybe not having the best role within the team to thrive in. A lot of factors can be listed as to why maybe he hasn't thrived the way that people have wanted him to. But my question is, I feel like we see this, man. We see this happen time and time again when a player gets rushed a little too early in these big, big clubs. It's not often that you see a player at 16 or 17 have a really good season and then be able to continue that every single season from then on out. The only people that actually have are, well, the GOATs, the greats, Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, Haaland, guys like that. But being labeled, being given those labels, being given that responsibility at such a young age, like how Ansu Fati was, it reminds me of kind of like Odegaard, man. And how he was the youngest, I think, sub or debutant with Real Madrid in their history at one point. And then after that, we didn't really see him for like 6 years. He went on a whole escapade, man. The equivalent of being on ayahuasca in the footballing universe, man. He needed to reinvent himself. And it wasn't until his time at Real Sociedad that we actually started to see a little bit more promise. And then he got to Arsenal at like, 22, 23 years old. And then he thrived. I wonder if the same is kind of happening with Ansu Fati right now, where it's just too much of a weight. It's too much of a responsibility to put on a player. The injuries come into hand. The personnel and the players that he has around him has an impact too. But I think overall, I do think this is an impact. This is an effect of putting too much on a player way too early in his career. And thus you see him go to a team like Brighton looking to kind of reset himself, looking to refresh his career and have a new start in hopes that he can become kind of like an Odegaard too, come back to Barcelona a year or two later just as a reimagined player and living up to the potential that he was once built to have.
Yeah, dude, this is honestly like a study in psychology, because I actually agree with you. I think I think two factors come into play: how young you are and how big the club you are attached to at the time.
Yes.
Because if you're 16 and you're playing for Birmingham, that's fine. That's completely fine. You could play every single minute for the entire season, and I don't think there'll be any psychological detriment. But I think when you're at Barcelona, there's going to be some tolls on you mentally, bro. Because you're being asked to output as one of the best players on the continent. Because that's what Barcelona represent themselves as, right? They're the biggest club in the world. So if you play for them, then you have to be one of the best players in your position. And you're 16 getting that opportunity. Even if you do succeed, I do think it takes some sort of mental toll on you, bro. It's so tough because you inevitably reach some sort of halting point where you lose a little bit of form maybe, or you get an injury. How then do you come back to any sort of consistency if you've never known what consistency is like? You're a kid. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. But yes, I think the remedy to this is to leave a big club. But to do that, it takes a lot of letting go of pride. You have to let go of your ego as a player, because at that point, you are no longer the best player in your position at Barcelona. Now you're at Brighton, right? And again, even though Brighton's low-key probably playing better football than Barcelona, club-wise, they're so much smaller. But that's why I'm so happy that when I saw that Ansu Fati was going to Brighton, because I was like, oh, well, this is how he fixes himself. Yes. This is how he gets rid of all the ailments that he's gone through at Barcelona, by letting go and just focusing on his career. And I think he's going to be able to do that at Brighton. Even if it doesn't work out that well, at least he knows, okay, there's other things out here other than Barcelona. But it gets scary because, now I'm starting to wonder, and I was thinking about this literally today when I was watching the Barca game. I was like, dude, what's going to happen to Lamine Yamal?
That's exactly.
I get scared already.
I'm worried, bro.
I'm worried.
He's already being called up to the national team, bro.
Yeah.
And the comments I'm seeing from people about him and the role he is expected to play for Barcelona now, I'm like, y'all need to chill, man.
He's the next Ansu Fati. It's just crazy, man.
Relax. Let the kid thrive in his own, in spurts. Let him have his moments, but don't put that pressure so early on. Enjoy it. Have fun. He's a youngin'. He's doing great. But come on, man. Any sort of expectations attached to him, it's unfair in my opinion.
It's so unfair. I remember the most blatant case of this where it just didn't work out. Stefan El-Shaarawy, when he was first called up at 18, 19, at a time for Milan when they were really struggling, they had no choice but to play him. So he played every single game, and they needed him to score to have any sort of relevancy in the league at the time. And so he had all of that weight, and he did it for one good season. He actually did it. But then after that, man, once he started going through a drought, he had no idea how to reset. And low-key, he never really did. No. He found some sort of joy when he moved to Roma, but, I mean, bro, we haven't really... His best years was when he was a teenager at Milan. Yeah. That's not good.
That's not good, man.
It's not good.
And there's a number of cases Michael Owen, I know, has been remarked as a player like that too. The opposite side is always so tempting that I see people go for it, because if Lamine Yamal has a great first year and then continues that consistency,
yeah.
I mean, that's equivalent to what the fuck. That's what Messi did.
That's
what the greats did. Mbappe being able to do it at 17, 18 for Monaco and just not stopping. True. Erling Haaland too. That's the opposite effect. That's why people, I think, put that pressure and expectation, because they want that every single time they have a chance to get it. I just think we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic in our expectations. And I'm excited for Lamine Yamal, but even more excited to see how Ansu Fati pans out at Brighton.
Oh, yeah.